That one?
Yeah, just leave it on the green.
Yeah. Can we come to order now? Thank you. Welcome to this meeting of Colne. David, can we have a bit of quiet while we... So welcome to this meeting of Colne Town Council on Tuesday the 16th of August. Is there any apologies? No.
Yes, I've got apologies from Councillor Nixon and Councillor Chung.
Thank you. We're happy to accept those. Yeah. Declaration of interest. Is there any members got any interest in anything that's on the agenda this evening? No? Good. Right. Item 4 is minutes to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 19th of July and Tuesday the 2nd of August. Is there any issues with any of the minutes? Yes, David.
Yeah, just a couple of things. The easy one to deal with is the extraordinary one we had. It's sort of 99% there, but I think given that we actually then said, now let's submit the whole neighbourhood plan and let's approve it and authorise it, whatever. I did a bit of a hunt around for other councils that had done the same thing and came up with that as the extra paragraph, which I emailed it through this afternoon to a couple of people. So if you're happy to go with that, it basically just says that we as Colne Town Council approve the Colne Neighbourhood Plan and support. Well, it's also in accordance with Part 5, Regulation 15 of the Neighbourhood Planning General Regulations 2012, Statutory Instrument number 637. Catchy intro, that one. Colne Town Council, as qualifying body, approves the Colne Neighbourhood Plan and supporting documentation for Regulation 16 consultation and authorises the chairman of the advisory committee to submit printed and electronic copies to Pendle Borough Council. So that was my suggested wording.
Yes, I think you emailed them earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah, if anyone's in agreement with that, I have done an amended version for Mary to sign. But yeah, thank you for doing that, David.
Are we happy with that? Yes. Yeah. So is everybody okay with that? Yes.
The other one on the main meeting from last time round, I think there's a few sort of updates dangling there. So if you could, is there any update on the SPID feedback from the deputy PCC?
I have had information from him, but unfortunately I haven't had a chance to go through it yet. But
the next one was number 11, the signs promoting Colne in other towns. Did we write to Barnoldswick and ask them?
I think Nathan was going to do that, but yeah. But I will double check.
Have ours gone? Or...
The Barnoldswick sign has not been there for quite some time, so in fact, I think since what do they call themselves? The BMW garage, since Lloyd sort of expanded and took the grassed area more, and the mugger went and everything. There's very little fence there to hang anything on.
And the final one was in note 16, just items for a future month's agenda. We can give you a couple of quick updates on one or two things, like the SEAG news we had since the last meeting. You want to do that?
Well, if they want us to.
I mean, essentially, we got the lease, we got the keys, we got the building, and it's open with the holiday activities for food now. Working marvellously. We spent thousands of pounds buying all the plates and glasses and mugs and pans and panini makers and 6 slot toasters that you could imagine. So everyone's being well fed and it's working very well.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was all really.
Right. Okay, with that update, thank you, David. Thank you for doing that. Have we got a seconder and proposal for the first lot of minutes, which is the 19th of July? Brian and Howard. Mm-hmm. And for the second one, that's the special one about the neighbourhood plan on the 2nd of August. Kevin and Sarah, thank you. Are we all happy with those? Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to vote? Put your hands up. Thank you. Take that as both of them. We don't seem to have any public to speak, so that's item 5. Item 6, exclusion of the public, to determine during which items, if any, the public are to be excluded from the meeting. And we have an item on the agenda, item 15, that will be a private item. Okay. Item 7 is finances, to receive a schedule of payments from 13th of July to 9th of August for approval. Any comments or issues on these? David?
Just a couple of questions, really. I'm happy with the overall summary because obviously we went through that at FES in quite a bit of detail. Awful lot of money spent this month. You know, there are two and a bit pages there. That's a fantastic amount there. In terms of a couple of questions, a snow machine. Go on, tell me about a snow machine.
This is
Christmas.
yes, Christmas in Cole. Yes, it was an offer that no. Obviously we can use it for all Christmas events.
As I understand it, with the countdown to the fireworks on the top of the stage with a slow snow machine, and the snow will start coming down as you're counting down. Right. Can I have a proposal for the schedule of payments for the 13th of July to the 9th of August? And you second that, Howard? Yeah. All those in favour of accepting these? Thank you. The next item is to receive a summary of budget and spend and commitment of at the 9th of August. That's that one. Anybody got anything to say about that? Can I therefore have a proposal that we accept this? And Brian, you'll second that? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I will just say that obviously the finances this month were done by our new finance officer. So obviously left him with instructions, and he looks like he's done everything right. So that's a good thing. I will also say as well, coming back to about 500 emails, one of which was from PKF Littlejohn for the external audit, and it has gone through with no problems. So
okay. Can we go on to our item 8 now? That's the grant request from Cone Open Door. You've got the copy here. Has anybody any comments or issues on that?
Yes.
I think we've got Dorothy, and do you want to speak on it as well, Alice? Yeah, Dorothy.
Is there anybody coming from Open Door?
Well,
No.
obviously they're not here, so.
Well, I found that a bit sad when they're applying for a grant and they can't even turn up.
Chairman, can I just say quickly, in fair. As most people know, and as I say, I guess it's already looked at it. Any reason not to grant it? So now it's here just to be ratified.
Okay, I've got Alice and then Sarah who wants to speak to this item.
A few months ago, they had an open day at Open Gate, and I went along and we chatted about what they would like to further the community outreach that they do. And they do a fantastic amount of work there. Yeah, it is sad that they're not here, but they were there at the open day. All the councillors were invited. I don't know how many went along, but they showed a great deal of activity that they'd done in the past and a lot of things that they would like to do, but they need funding. And given that they've already found match funding for this, and they're just asking for half the amount for the fruit cages, I think we should accept it.
Sarah?
I went along, David went along. They gave us some free plants that they had going spare, which was very grateful. And they have tentacles all over town. You speak to lots of people who benefit from Open Gate. And in fact, I don't know whether it's still done, Alice, but we used to advise people who were on the allotments list to go along to sort of learn some skills, because some people fall in love with the idea of getting an allotment, but they actually don't know anything about strawberries or how to raise their own produce. So I think they're a sort of wellspring of knowledge, but also they do lots of positive things for different groups. Sadly, they couldn't fit SEAG in this summer, but hopefully they will next year, because we had a group of autistic and ADHD children last year who gained hugely from the sort of non-competitive environment of horticulture. And we're very sad that it came to an end. I had to explain it came to an end because we'd eaten everything, and that was the end of the season. So yeah, I really hope we can do it next year, and perhaps they'll gain in capacity as well.
Okay, so are we all happy with agreement that that it should go forward? So can I have a proposer and a seconder? Brian proposing it, and Alice will second it. Yeah, all those in favour? Thank you. The next item is overtime policy. To consider the proposed amendments to the Town Council's current overtime policy, and it's been to the FES committee. So does anybody want to have any issues with it or ask any questions? No?
I will just say, obviously, this has previously gone to FES, and the main reason it's come about is mainly because we're doing more events, even like in the town hall, sort of after hours at Primmett, and because we're doing that and we're working more over weekends, it's getting increasingly hard to take our time back in lieu. Basically, it would mean that hardly any of us were here during the week. So this is why we put this amendment forward.
Yeah. Well, it is a council wish that we do use the town hall for weddings and other funerals and whatever, and also, you know, the community centre. So this is where we're at. So we need a decision. Can someone propose that we accept this overtime policy, this amended overtime policy? David and Kevin will second that. Okay, all those in favour? Thank you. Item 10 is to receive an update from the chairman of the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group on the progress of the project. We know that something's gone in, hasn't it? It seems to be hopefully, well, I don't know, well-ish received from
Yes, I've spoken to Neil Watson because I was a bit anxious, and he said he's had a flick through. He can't expect more, and he's now gone on holiday. And in fact, when we dropped it off at the town hall, everybody was ill with COVID. So that's why we got a receipt, because there was nobody to take it from us. But he said that the team have had a flick through, and they estimate about 3 days solid work to get it ready for Regulation 16, which is the next level. It's the 6-week consultation. And because they've just done their consultation on the local plan and they've got shed loads of work on, it'll take them 3 weeks to do their 3 days, which I fully understand. And we're, I think, as a group, very happy with 3 weeks. If they stick to that or near that, I think we're very happy with that. And everything's progressing. He did actually comment that he really felt that we looked like we were meeting the basic conditions. And then just as I was feeling happy, he then said, but it all comes down to the numbers. So we're not certain, but we are heading in the right direction. And obviously I'll keep you in, if I hear more, I'll keep you in touch in between times as well.
Thank you. Any questions for Sarah? No? Oh, I hope.
I think just a tiny bit more information on the process. So as Sarah said, they've got 3 weeks or so to get this ready. Then it's a 6-week public consultation. The documents we've already submitted, Pendle may say you need to change this a bit, tweak that, adjust this, there's a spelling mistake here or whatever there. And therefore we've got that chance to do those final little tweaks before it then goes out to public consultation. Those versions then are the ones that after 6 weeks get all collated together, and in the meantime we identify an examiner, so we get offered a choice of 2 or 3, and we avoid the name Nigel. So for example, the Kelbrook and Suff one, they just had theirs done by a chap called Andrew, who was very supportive of the whole thing, and that one's going through at Pendle very soon. So it's a sort of that kind of process in terms of how it works its way through.
Good, thank you. Thank you for that. Item 11. Planning. To provide the opportunity to comment on planning applications lodged in Colne and Environ since the last full council meeting. We've got quite a few more than the 3 that are here. But they only came in very, very late. No, did they? No, right. Jean was on holiday, so couldn't pick them up.
No.
Have I got a list of the
That's not this one.
the ring ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it back to you. The first one is I'm all right with the first 3. It's 22/0394/FUL. It's 206 Skipton Road, Colne, erection of a detached dwelling, including formation of access and ancillary works. Yes, whereabouts exactly is 206?
So it's where you come to what I'd call the infamous roundabout, isn't it? It's it's on the left as you're coming away from Castle Road. And it's a corner plot where somebody obviously has the space in their garden, which I'm not against generally. But I have written to the planning department with a query on this. It's all render. And although this isn't a conservation area, I do wonder whether it'll look incongruous in the street scene. Can you really see that from the drawing? I don't think you can. I think that's my main concern about it. It's all this K render.
Yes, Howard?
It actually fronts onto to Castle Road. Castle Road would be at the, that doesn't really show it, but the the corner house is 208, which is the one with a sort of, well, it's maybe not huge in terms as gardens go, but it is a big garden. However, reading the papers on this, that there is obviously some dispute about people having rights of access and goodness knows what, which obviously is not a planning matter. I think that was the thing I saw was the render that doesn't fit in with the houses on Skipton Road. But unfortunately, I suppose that there is an argument that the houses on Castle Road at the bottom there are rendered to some extent. However, this is such a tiny little house. I just, and again, that doesn't really show the way it is squeezed in between the houses on Castle Road and the garden on Skipton Road through Castle Road, which is, because it wraps around the corner. 206 is actually the second house from the corner. So I'm not sure how it all fits together, to be honest.
Well, we can't write that down.
Well, no, but there is I think the location plan, or That's caravans at Lenches. Because when you look at that, you'll see why it's that slightly peculiar shape.
So your concern was just the render?
Obviously, the fact that some neighbour, I'm assuming the neighbours, say they have rights of way across it, that's not a planning matter. It's, if they have rights of way, it's up to them to exercise them, and you know that they can put the proverbial spoke in the wheels.
You mean at the back street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there, try that look. Yeah, I think that may show it better.
Yeah.
No, well, there, yeah, you can see in there.
Which is it?
That there, that in red, it's not. And they would gain access off Castle Road. Because there's one, I think there's a garage there now, and there's one space for parking a car.
Well, what are you saying we should say about it?
I think it's a bit. I think there's too much in a small space. I think. I mean, as well as the rendering, and they've made an attempt because they say they'll put grey plastic windows in.
I mean, that piece of land would look overdeveloped. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm trying to.
and well, and that house wouldn't look like anything. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing that things have to look the same, but it's just out of character to the area. It's like a sort of shape like the Flatiron building in New. I mean, obviously at a much reduced scale.
So what are we saying? Render and out of character with the area?
Yeah, yeah.
Are we happy with that?
Councillor Howard says it looks daft. Sorry, I've just thrown my pen.
Right, the next one is 22/0486/FUL Prospect Farm Caravan Site, Lenches Road.
I think we should just say no comment.
Yeah, there's been no objection, and it's the same number of. Yes, Brian.
I think it's always been used for residential anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was before, yeah.
Long holiday lets.
Yeah, so no comment. The next one is 22/0443 FUL Morrison Supermarkets, the abattoir, Junction Street, Nelson. Is that Nelson? That's not Nelson, is it? It's Colne, I think. Yes, Liz.
Well, this might be a pointless question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But we're in the 4th year now of trying to resolve a noise issue, and we're no closer really to getting it resolved. To be fair to Woodheads, they are trying. They've got a new site manager. They've spent 1.2 million on noise reduction. But the real fly in the ointment is Morrison's, who are refusing to engage at all with the residents to explain what's happening. They're just stonewalling us. And the fact is that though they've spent all this money, you know, only last week I was out at 10 o'clock at night with a resident who lives half a mile away, scaling fences, trying to work out where this noise was coming from at 10 o'clock at night. So it's still an issue. So I just wondered if it was possible. I know we can't say, no, you can't have it because you're making a noise, but I wondered if there was a way of framing a comment that let them know that there are issues they need to deal with and they can't keep on expanding. If there was no abattoir there now, commission for that abattoir to be put there, it would be refused because the plants like that are usually right out in the countryside, well
yeah.
away, because they are by nature noisy and smelly.
Mm.
So,
Have you got a form of words that you've already?
well, if
Talked
you use
about?
my form of words, it probably get us all into trouble, but I'm sure there's a way of phrasing it, just to give them a heads up that, you know, they need to start cooperating with people. I've met with the new site manager. He's a really reasonable guy. He would really love to build trust with the community, but Morrison's just stand in the way and simply refuse.
Well,
to try.
It's two companies together,
Yeah,
isn't it? Because you've got the HR for Morrison. So if you want to work for Morrison, you go, and then there's another HR for the other bit. And it seems,
well, the whole thing's
weird.
owned by an American, can't remember the name.
Hedge fund.
Well, not hedge fund, but that kind of thing. It's been taken over, and it's become even more shut down as a result of that. But so I just think Morrison needs a message that we hopefully,
Part of our community.
that the community feels that they should do something about the nuisance they're causing if they want to continue to expand.
yes, Dorothy.
That's a shame that Morrisons are behaving like that. Not that long ago, myself and Councillor Howarth and Councillor Greaves went to meet with some of the directors from Morrisons. I've got a wonderful photograph on my phone of Tony Greaves with a hairnet on and white coat and white Wellingtons, and they had a tour round. I couldn't, because I had a swollen foot, I couldn't get the wellies on. So I missed out. Of the tour, but they were very, very cooperative, and you know, it was all about the noise and the smell. And so have they changed directors, do you think? I don't know, but really they should be coming and meeting,
The community.
to be fair, you know, and the amount of years that this has gone on.
Yes, Liz.
The takeover by this American, I mean, I was at the farm myself 2 weeks ago. I can say that the people that I know that were good heads are perfectly reasonable, and you know, they show me around site, not the meat processing bit, but the bits where they tried to deal with noise, and then had a noise survey done, and that noise survey gave 9 points to act on, and they've, I think, acted on another 11 that they've identified themselves. But unfortunately, it still hasn't addressed the problem. And what I wanted was for them to meet with the residents and to tell the residents what they were telling me. But they were saying, Morrison say no. They're not interested. They're just blanking us. Sorry, so it's taken a lot of time. Wow.
Well, they have to be braver if they want to live in this area, don't they? Yes, Pat.
Is there any way that we can tell Morrisons or these people that they've either got to straighten some of the problems out now to even get a look in at this new place, or they've got to prove to us that this new place isn't going to make a smell, isn't going to make a noise, isn't going to make it worse. And if they can do either of those, then it can be thought about. But that's okay saying that to us. It's not us that decide, is it?
No. Howard, what do you want to
think-
say?
I think there's one or two of us in this room that remember this when it was Borthwick's and it smelt then and it was noisy then. It is not as bad as it was when it first started. Certainly on the smell is still horrendous when it's at its worst, but it's at its worst less often, if that makes sense. I think, unfortunately, what in terms of the legislation and everything, if they are making their, it's probably worded best intentions or best, what you can't do is, under the legislation, make someone put something in that costs 90 times what the business is, that is more than the business is worth. And unfortunately, we're now stuck that, if we can turn the clock back 30, 40 years, that it wouldn't be there, but it is. So we're stuck with it there. But what we can do, I think, is say to the planning aspect of it, that we would hope that there would be sufficient conditions placed on it so that the noise, any noise associated with this new building is at an absolute minimum. And I would have thought that there's someone within environmental health that'll be able to put numbers on that, so that if it exceeds whatever decibel number they come up with, action can then be taken. Now, this application, there is something like 60 odd documents with it that go on. Well, you drive yourself daft if you tried to read them all, and if you could understand all the jargon that's in there. So I think there are two things we need to say. We would like sufficient conditions that limit any additional noise from here, and that we are disappointed that there are still noise problems that have been going on for the I'm going to say 4 or 5 years.
And should we say something about, well, I know it's not planning, but it would help if the local residents would
yeah.
had a discussion with them before this was built, and then they know what was going on.
I think
the only other thing you could offer is that you go to Morrison's supermarket and demonstrate outside with placards.
Well, I know that when, you know as well, when our son was at school at Fisher-Moor, several of them used to go and picket. I don't know whether it was Woodheads, Borthwick's or Morrison's at the time, but they used to go and picket. I didn't get anywhere, but that must be, he said, trying to work it out, 20 years ago.
I just, Edwina and I opened Morrison's. So that, it was 22 years ago. Yeah. Mr. Morrison was there himself.
Oh, yes, David.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to be a bit more cynical, because it's all right saying there could be extra noise come from it, and there's already too much noise from there. I think we all know that there is too much noise and there is too much smell from there. And some of us can remember the days when they couldn't control the surplus blood there properly, and the drains used to block, and it used to run all the way down Regent Street from what was Borthwick's then, all the way down the road, all the way down to Asda, 2 inches deep at road. And so things are better than they were. But the problem is where planning falls down, I think, on issues like this, is particularly when you're talking about the noise and the smell. I have no doubt that Neil Watson would say to us, along with the other planning officers, that the noise and the smell isn't really a planning issue, and that will be taken care of by environmental health under various legislation. The problem is environmental health don't do anything and it doesn't happen. And that is the problem, Chairman.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not environmental health that regulate it, it's the Environment Agency, and we're in the process now of taking them to the Parliamentary Ombudsman because they're just as hopeless
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So, I mean, these particular residents have been there prior to Woodheads. They've been there for over 40 years. So you can't sort of, I know that you're not saying it, but they get fed up with people saying, well, what the hell did you move here for if you've got an issue? You know, they predate the issues. And they're at the point now where they just say, they just want us to die. And when you go and see residents that you represent, elderly 80-year-old people who say, they're just waiting for us to die, that's really upsetting. And I would like us to say something, even if Neil Watson is just going to reject it.
Yeah, yeah. So have you got something that we can, yeah, okay. Shall we move on then? Are we all right to move on? The next one is 22/0496/FUL. It's Blakey Hall Farm, Red Lane, Colne. It's a change of use of a traditional farm building from 2 ensuite B&E bedrooms to a single dwelling. Yes, David?
I think the thing we've got to be, I think most of us know the area where this is. I think what we've got to be mindful of here, there have been problems in that area previously, and it is also in Greenbelt, and it's what do we want to be allowing as regards putting extra houses in the Greenbelt, because we know how touchy we all are about losing Greenbelt, and rightly so, and I don't think we want to be supporting converting something into a permanent dwelling like that within the Greenbelt, because if they asked if they could build a new house there, they would highly likely be told no.
Do we all know where this is? Yeah. Yeah. It's bottom of Red Lane, before the bridge, before the canal there, just on the left. So are we saying we are against because
the rule use, I suppose it's a bit difficult in that it's converting a barn, but in Greenbelt, the rule used to be you couldn't expand more than 50%, but as I say, it's a bit in the it is already there as a B&B. But I'd be quite happy to say that we object on the grounds that it is in the Greenbelt, and there is a difference between using buildings to support to support. Councillor Camper just reminded, tourism was the word I'm looking for, to support agriculture, and that would disappear if this was turned into a permanent dwelling. So I think we ought to object.
are we happy with that?
I am happy with it, but just a little sort of word of warning. If it has been used as a barn in the last 10 years, or if it hasn't been used for the last 10 years, but it was a barn, they could develop this under Class Q, which allows any level of development within the Greenbelt. I think our role as a town council is to say what we feel, and that's what we feel. But I think they're probably is a way around it, and it's probably class Q.
Well, yeah, well, we're going to object because it's in the green belt, okay? Right, the next one is 22/0426 FUL Pendle Hippodrome Limited. What's this about a flat roof? A single-story flat roof extension and two-story pitched roof. And it's encompassing the Derby Arms, isn't it? The pub.
It actually includes quite a lot of handsome work to the front facade, which is what you would see on Newmarket Street. Be the couple of tiny UPVC windows there around the back, but at the front it's all going to be wood, and it will look incredibly smart, I think.
Are we okay then? No comment? Okay.
We should say we welcome it rather than no comment.
Yeah, welcome the development. Right, the next one is 22/0453/FUL ELE Ibilat Engineering at Cotton Tree Lane, and it's for a major erection of a residential dwelling of 50 dwellings. Development. I thought the environmental people said they couldn't build on that because of a flood risk.
I spent time looking at this application on Monday, and I thought, oh, there'll be a big thing on the flooding and there's a very scant, there's a environmental report which deals with quite a few issues. But when I got into the flooding bit, it wasn't that detailed at all. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because I would have thought, therefore, there will be an objection, and that would be a reason to turn it down. So they will have to overcome that objection. That's why we took this site out of the neighbourhood plan, because it was an objection within our choice of housing sites. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, we're the body that did the neighbourhood plan, so we could just observe that it had been in our neighbourhood plan, but we took it out because of the objection from the Environment Agency. And obviously that would have to be overcome without considering any other option. I don't know about the rest of you. I looked at it and I was sorry that there weren't any bungalows. And I was pleased to see that there were different house sizes, including large houses, medium-sized houses. And I didn't mind the occasional bits of render here and there, because I thought it sort of made an interesting street scene. But I thought those sort of 1960s to the ground windows, half of which were obscure glass, just look weird. And I know weird isn't a thing. It's not a planning reason, is it? But if we could zoom in, is that possible, Gina, on that house that we can zoom in? Yeah, well, you can see it. It looks weirder in the pictures, actually, rather than it just looks a bit strange. And it's throughout that entire development. But I know this isn't, it's not a deep thought. And I thought it was good as well that at the top of the development, where there's thick trees by the road, the whole thing has been pulled back. So obviously it's not right up against the road or anything like that. There is that buffer that you wouldn't see from Cotton Tree. So I think that there were good things about it and there were bad things about it. And I think that's the process of planning, isn't it, really? To sort of bring them all out and discuss them. But really, obviously, the main thing has to be the fact that we know, we're in this privileged position to know, that the Environment Agency at this stage anyway, without the detail, has objected.
Yeah, I think the residents on the bottom of Barnfield would welcome it because they'd rather have housing than the factory. Yeah. Yes, David.
I think as well, at that point, the fact that it was selected by the Neighbourhood Planning Working Group Advisory Committee, it was assessed, it was scored, it passed all the tests as far as we were concerned. It was a wonderful site.
Yeah.
It was in consultation for Regulation 14. The public supported it. So, you know, it ticked all the boxes for us. So I think it's worth mentioning, you know, we have, although we've taken it out of the neighbourhood plan, we did leave a comment in there which said that we chose to take it out because of the feedback from the Environment Agency. We didn't want to cause any last minute problems, but we hope that whoever brings it forward for development can convince the Environment Agency, who did a distant desktop review and said it was zone 3. The ELE management said it was a zone 1 and was fine. So hopefully there's a bit more meat on the bones when it comes to actually doing such a report.
Well, I've never seen it flood down there.
No, I've heard, yeah, there's never been any flooding down there as far as locals say.
Technical issue.
So yeah, the technical one, which we leave to the experts.
Mm.
He wasn't called Nigel, was he?
So we just say it was in our, it's a good site, you know, that, but we had to take it out because of the environment.
That it was, yeah, we took it out due to.
Not because we didn't want it there, but because that objection from them.
Chairman,
Well,
That's the Hippodrome.
it looks to me a bit like the one at the back of the magistrates' court that was in Reedley.
Oh.
They had these like Scandinavian tall Dutchy type things.
Chairman, I thought that site originally had a flood alleviation facility within it, which sort of mops up some of the flood water. What happens to that during this development? Does that remain, and does some sort of a facility remain there to mop up the surplus water, or is that gone because it's got houses on it? I haven't looked at that detail in plan because we didn't get some of these until sort of today. I don't know what happens to that, you know, what was put in place, because when the factory was there, they had to have that in place. And if I'm right, I think it was part of the car park, weren't it? And the car park flooded to take some of the.
They put an enormous, at the far end of the site, which is the sort of non-brownfield bit. Is there a possibility to see the site, Gina? Yeah, so if you can come down to the bit where your elbow is, further, that's the factory. In the middle, keep going. Oh, can you not? Anyway, the bottom corner that's furthest away from the entrance is where they intend to put the suds. And it looks really, really large one. And of course, that's the bit that isn't the brownfield bit. So I'm guessing that they will be saying that is the ecological, sustainable, still green area.
Have you got what you need, Gina? Yeah. The next one is 22/0531. It's TPO. It's to remove 2 ash trees at Netherhayes Close. It's to remove 2 ash trees on Netherhayes Close. It's not the one that's had the trees not chopped down that shouldn't have. Right. So it's, whose is it? Alison Rush, I don't know. No comment? No comment? No? Yeah, it is. They'll be dying, yeah. 22/0535 another one, Castle Court. These are 2 sycamore trees, subject to a TPO number 42001. Anybody got any comments on this? Do we know why they need removing or want removing? Alice?
Just, do we know why they're being removed? Obviously, if they were ash, it could have been that they've got dieback, but sycamore.
Sycamore. It's quite a nice little close really that have some trees. It's quite nicely landscaped, isn't it? Off Castle Road there. With the old people's flats at the beginning and then a little, so I don't know why.
So
Yeah.
going back to the ash trees are ash dieback.
They are, yeah. Is there anything about this other one on there, on your planning portal or whatever it is you're looking at? There you go. We can ask the question, can't we? Why, you know, it's got a tree protection order on it, so why does it need to be chopped down, or two of them chopped down? Oh, wait, they're up. Talk about yourselves. Something to do with the what? Roots.
Just the application form says remove 2 sycamore trees on the boundary. These have grown over into next door's property and concerning both properties.
Yeah,
I think
got
that
the back.
is we can, well,
Yeah.
it doesn't say the rest of that.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I would say we oppose it. We like
Yeah,
trees.
I'd say we opposed it.
Yeah,
Mm.
selective pruning.
No,
because-
it's not roots, it's.
Is it the
that was my
crown?
guess, sorry.
Oh, it's only crown, you can sort that out, can't you?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
pruning is the,
Pruning,
I mean, unless
selective pruning.
there is something there that
We don't know.
we don't know.
That okay, planning? Item 12, correspondence received. Have we had any correspondence, Gina? Good. Items for a future month's agenda. We had quite a few things on last times, didn't we? About 4 or 5 different issues. Bush shelters, audit. Gibble update. SEAG update, Alkin Courts Park Secret Garden update. I think the Secret Garden, we were up there and it started, there's one side of it that's got a bark and mulch and everything's been taken out and it's looking okay, but that's just the far wall, but it's looking very good. Who did that, David? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it looked very nice. When we took that
Elisha
on
House did
Wednesday.
some, and the beginnings of the Friends of Alkincoats
Good,
did some as
good.
well.
So shall we keep those on the agenda for next time and see if we can get any more information. The date and time of the next regular meeting will be Tuesday.
Chairman, on the items for a future
Yeah,
agenda, I think it needs flagging up that at the next full council meeting, which is the September one, it is essential that by that stage, we are in a position where we are able to agree the remainder of the grounds maintenance tenders to go out for tender, because legally they've got to go out for 6 weeks. That is that is what we tied up with. So if they went out at the September meeting, we would get them back at the end of October, early November. And that is the deadline for getting them back. Because when we start deciding on budgets and precepts, etc., we want to know what all these tenders are going to cost us. So a few things in the next few weeks might have to take a back seat because that work is going to have to be done. And Gina and the rest of the officers can only do so much, and some particular effort is going to have to be put into that.
Thank you. Okay, well, we'll keep that, keep that on in, make sure that it's going on as it should be. Okay. So the time of the next meeting and date is 7 p.m. on the 20th of September. Now the public meeting is now closed and we'll go on to the private item. Can we turn it off? Thank you. Thank you.